What is hysterical bonding? Hysterical bonding is something that often takes place post-betrayal, and I'll get into it. Leslie Wells, connection coach here. I help individuals improve, heal, repair their marriages, or just show up better in their marriages by looking at things through an attachment lens. The reason I look at things through an attachment lens is your attachment style is the biggest predictor of how you show up in your relationships and why you do. So if we can figure out what's triggering you and why you're responding the way that you are and understand your partner's attachment style, we can help break negative cycles and help you have a healthy, secure relationship. A lot of times, once there's been a betrayal in a relationship or a marriage, the person betrayed, will immediately pull away and end the relationship. And that's okay. They have to make that decision for themselves. Other people will decide to stay and fight for their marriage, and sometimes they will experience something called hysterical bonding. And whenever we are betrayed by a partner, our brain immediately goes into a threat mode. So we are all created for connection. There's so much science to back this from the time we are children and infants in childhood and early childhood. In order to get our needs met from our primary caregiver, whose mercy we're at, we have to be able to bond with that person to get our needs met. If we do not bond, our primary caregiver does not show up well and consistently and securely for us in a healthy way, then we will grow up with attachment wounds and insecure attachment styles that will then follow us through our adult relationships. They have done studies with primates where they have shown the most important thing above food and other needs is that connection. And this has been shown over and over and over again through science. So our brain knows that a disconnect in a primary relationship that is important to us, where we depend on someone to get a lot of our needs, emotional security, emotional comfort met, when there's a disconnect there, our brain, the threat detection center, the amygdala in our brain automatically goes crazy. It's like a fire alarm because that is not okay. That is a disruption to our safety. Our brain and our body knows this, and it causes us to erupt in complete dysregulation. So even though someone is betrayed and they mentally want to they're disgusted, they're repulsed, they're furious, they're angry, they may have all of these feelings going on, and everything inside of them may want to pull away, shut down, and really hate and be repulsed by this person, there's still that part of the brain that says, I need to reconnect for my safety. And there's even neurochemicals that go into this. When you're with somebody for an extended period of time, your brain starts to release a certain flow, a consistent flow of oxytocin from that relationship. And whenever there's a betrayal, that flow decreases significantly and drops off, and you literally go into withdrawal symptoms as if you were going through a withdrawal for drugs. So everything in your brain and your body wants to reconnect because that connection with that partner symbolizes safety to your brain and your body. That connection does. So while you may hate that person and want with every fiber of your being to shove them away, you still have that other part of you, your attachment side, your attachment needs, and your brain and your body saying, we really need to reconnect. So what can that look like in a relationship? It can look like someone who is internally full of anger, fear, rage, just disgust, repulsed, while they are simultaneously leaning into their partner for their comfort and their security. So they may both hate that person and want them as far away as possible because they no longer feel safe, while at the same time needing that person to be their rock and to get them through the betrayal that they caused. And that is such a conflicting thing. That is what causes what we call ambivalent attachment. And that's where you both really want that person to connect with, to lean in, to be your rock, to be your safety, to help you through the event. Yet at the same time, everything inside of you wants to shove them away. So even when it comes to intimacy, a lot of times for a lot of the people that I coach, it's very difficult for them to re-engage in intimacy whenever they've decided to stay and work on their marriage. And tough luck for the person who did the betraying. You're going to have to deal with that a while. You brought it on, you're going to have to deal with it. And I don't know how long that's going to take because for every person it's different and every person has their own hurdles to get over to be able to reconnect in that way. For other individuals though, they are the exact opposite. So even though they have a really hard time with intimacy and there may be images and visions and a lot of conflicting feelings within themselves, they tend to really want to connect as far as their intimacy because of that hysterical bonding and that need to reconnect and rebuild safety, particularly if it's a person who has an extended period of time with this person. They have a long marriage, they have a family, they've got a life they've built together. They're invested in other ways, whether it's community outreach or businesses that they do together or, things with the children. But if they're super connected in all areas of life, then they're going to tend to hysterically bond more because they have so much that is at risk for that safety. So this is extremely confusing to the person who is betrayed. And it's extremely confusing to a lot of society who wants to, deem them weak or deem them, really lash out at them for trying to stay and work on their marriage. And it's really short-sighted to just assume that someone, just because something bad has happened, that every feeling they've ever had just automatically dissipates and they're able to just, present with a wall of anger and all the other feelings just go away. That's just unrealistic. And for some people, the right option is to leave, but it's really kind of rude to just assume that's the option for everyone when they have children, they have a family, and it really would be better if society would respect their decision to do what they need to do. But a lot of times people from the outside do not. They look in and they see this hysterical bonding and they really do not understand it, and they're very judgmental of it. I would tell anyone who has ever been through a betrayal not to tell a lot of people, to tell one or two people that are close to you. If you're a Christian, you need to make sure that you're telling people that are for your marriage, that are for the design of marriage, and that really believe in the institution of marriage. But you want to make sure that you're telling people that are going to support you. They're not going to question you. They're not going to give you a hard time, but they're going to support you and be there for you. Hysterical bonding can also become a problem whenever the person is leaning in too much to the person who betrayed them, where they're not allowing them space to do their healing work. It is absolutely the responsibility of the person who betrayed you to lean into you and to show up for you with support and to do their work to help you. They need to co-regulate with you, and they need to help you through your pain and your triggers and all of the other things that are going to occur for you. But there has to come a point where they are allowed the space to focus on their own healing and all of the damage in them, all the brokenness in them that led them to respond to whatever was going on in the relationship in that way. Because even if there were issues in the relationship, even if they had unmet needs, a healthy, secure person does not turn to stepping out of the marriage to fix the marriage. Healthy, secure people do not do that. They put up boundaries, they communicate differently. They may even put up the ultimate boundary if they recognize that this relationship is never going to work and they're never going to get their needs met. But they do not step out and they do not cheat. One of the really bad things for the betrayed when it comes to hysterical bonding is the sense of shame that it often brings, because they recognize that it's unnatural to want to connect with someone that is really the villain in their story, that is in some ways their enemy, the person who stabbed them in the back, the person that they never saw it coming from. And so there's this shame that can go with, why am I leaning onto this person, and why am I so pathetic and weak that I'm turning back to this person that did that to me? And so there's absolutely no room for shame and healing. And so that's one of the things that I work with a lot with when I'm coaching people, is dealing with that if their natural tendency is to hysterically bond. But it's really important to remember that the reason we do that is because our brain wants to reconnect and regain safety. And so we have to be able to have gratitude for the way that the brain gets our needs met and does its best to keep us safe. So if you've ever experienced this in your relationship, I would love to hear any of your comments or your insight if this is something that you have been through.